WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:31 on August 4th. Happy Friday. I'm Madison Pergram, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News This Morning. So like I said, it's Friday, but with this Friday comes some good weather and some lower temperatures. I know I'm ready for it, but let's go to Kelly McShane to get a full forecast. Kelly, I'm so excited about this. So we've been waiting for it, we've been talking about it, and it's finally here.
I know, it's finally here. Much deserved for us here in the mountains too, because man, those temperatures in the 90s, I was getting tired of them. So 70s this afternoon will be a nice refreshing break. This morning over towards Whitesburg, we're not looking at too much fog out there, just a calm, quiet start. You can see that here as well on satellite and radar. We're dry throughout the region, and we're going to continue to stay dry as we head throughout the later morning, afternoon, and evening hours as well. And those temperatures starting to get a little chillier towards the north and west thanks to that cold front ushering in that cooler air from those northwest winds. But that air still needs to be cooled towards the south and southeast, but those temperatures still waking up cooler than yesterday in those low to mid 60s. So overall, temperature is going to be feeling much better heading into this afternoon. I'll have those details as well as our weekend forecast here in just a little bit. Madison.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, today is the start of the fall race meet at Keeneland, but summer weather lasting through the beginning of October has officials taking extra precautions to keep the horses safe. The turf last night was still being watered on the eve of the fall meet. The big focus is the moisture content on the turf and dirt. The newly appointed director of racing surfaces is in charge of monitoring the condition of both tracks. During the summer, Keeneland reapplied the dirt track in preparation for the fall meet.
It was the 5th year that we've had this track in place, so we were due for some routine maintenance. We pulled back the surface cushion. We used ground penetrating radar to really look at the hard base underneath of it.
Keeneland also recently announced its new equine safety director position. The call to post for the first race of the fall meet is 1:05 this afternoon. And those hot temperatures contributed to a huge fire at a soybean farm in central Kentucky yesterday. This video shows just how much smoke that blaze gave off. This all happened in Mercer County. And emergency crews had to shut down a state highway because of that smoke. Crews from multiple counties responded, and officials believe it all started when a combine harvester exploded, igniting the dry crops around it. But thankfully, no injuries were reported. And almost all of Breathitt County is now considered in an extreme drought. Only a trace of rain has fallen in Jackson in more than a month. Some farmers in the area are struggling, and WYMT's Lauren McCourt visited one local farmer who says this has led to some major problems for him.
Even in his 80s, Forrest Bryant's love for farming continues to grow.
I enjoy it, and I always have.
But for the past month, hardship hit his farm.
Tough period, but this makes it much worse.
With Breathitt County in a dry spell for more than 30 days, local farmers like Forrest are struggling to keep their animals fed and hydrated.
Cattle don't grow well. They don't do good, and nothing does.
And when there's no rain, there's no fresh grass, which leads to them putting out hay a little earlier.
Already are feeding hay, and usually in December or something before we have to start.
Causing more problems than just extra labor.
Probably hurt the pocketbook more than anything.
Experiencing similar situations before, Forrest prepared this time around.
The cattle got them in 4 or 5 different bunches, trying to save as much hay as we can.
But unfortunately, this is a battle that cannot be won.
Start feeding this early, it's take a toll on you.
With creek beds dried out and green grass now brown,
We could stand some.
no amount of rain could fix the damages already done. In Breathitt County, Lauren McCourt, WYMT Mountain News.
The National Weather Service in Jackson says we should see some beneficial rainfall beginning Sunday afternoon. And like we said, rain is finally in the forecast, and AAA is reminding you be ready to slow down. Experts say oil left from our cars builds up on the roads over time. Add rain to the mix and roads get slippery. A study from the University of California, Berkeley shows the risk of crashes on a rainy day increases the longer the dry spell that comes before it. AAA reminds drivers to slow down and leave space between other cars.
We're going to have falling leaves combined with wet weather conditions on the roads, those can actually be about as slippery as trying to drive in icy conditions.
Experts say now is a good time to check the tread on your tires. They say bad tires can take an extra 6 feet to stop. And we now know the name of a man that was hit by a car and killed in Floyd County Wednesday night. Kentucky State Police identified the victim as 67-year-old Jerry Hackworth of the Beaver community. We first told you Wednesday night about the crash that shut down the southbound lanes of US 23 at Stanfield for around an hour. There were no other injuries reported. And police in London say they need your help finding a hit-and-run driver. Police say this man hit a car in the Walmart parking lot before driving off. He was driving a black Chevrolet Spark. It happened around 10 o'clock Thursday morning. The car also has 4 stickers on the back window. Anyone with information is asked to call the London Police Department at 606-878-7004. And now to Knox County, where the Sheriff's Office is trying to figure out who would steal a septic cleaning truck. This truck was last seen in the Barberville area around 4 o'clock Wednesday. It is white with red lettering on the doors. If you know where the truck is, you're asked to call the Knox County Sheriff's Office. And police in Laurel County say they're seeing more cases of people under the influence of drugs and walking out into the roadways. Deputies say one man was found doing that on Wednesday in broad daylight, and he had some interesting items with him. WYMT's Hannah Reynolds explains.
Wednesday, calls flooded Laurel County Dispatch, describing a man walking down U.S. Highway 25.
Just walking down the road here. Next thing you know it, he was jumping out at the cars and threatening them and cussing at them.
At the same time calling started flooding dispatch, police immediately responded. Their biggest concern, stopping a disaster before it happened.
Because of the traffic volume there and the danger of either him being hurt or somebody swerving off the roadway and running into the ditch and them getting hurt.
James Horton was found in the middle of the road. Police arrested him.
At the time of arrest, we found 2 butcher knives, 1 in each pocket, and we also found a clown mask in a backpack that he had.
We set up an interview to ask Horton about the knives and mask. He initially agreed to the interview, but when we got to the jail, he was released on bond. Police say they searched him more closely because of it, but believe ultimately the issue was drugs.
It's just something very unusual.
Police say Horton was charged with public intoxication for being under the influence of drugs. In Laurel County, Hannah Reynolds, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, yesterday afternoon, police told WYMT Horton was arrested for a similar incident a few miles north of where he was found on Wednesday. He was arrested for disorderly conduct and is now back in the Laurel County Detention Center. And a retired state trooper and school safety director in Estill County is now in trouble with the law himself following a DUI arrest. Doug Cole was arrested Saturday night following a DUI stop, and police say he had an open container in the car with him. Then he was hostile with police after his arrest. He was charged with DUI aggravating circumstances after blowing a .283.
He walked up to the car. The male subject in the car identified himself as a retired state trooper. He then noticed, our officer then noticed an open bottle of vodka in the passenger seat.
Cole spent one night at the Lincoln County Jail and was released on bond. He's due in Garrett District Court October 14th. And a new warning today from the state's Attorney General's office. Officials say a Kentucky woman fell victim to a phone scam, losing around $30,000. The scammers told her that her Social Security number would be suspended if she didn't pay up. Law enforcement officials say the federal government will never suspend your Social Security number or demand you wire money over the phone. If you believe you're being scammed, hang up the phone and call your local law enforcement. And one man in Harlan County is due back in court today after police say they believe he was holding his wife hostage. Kentucky State Police say they arrested 70-year-old Johnny Pace after responding to a call for help, where the caller told them Pace had shot at her brother when he tried to pick up their mother. The caller went on to say Pace also threatened to shoot law enforcement who tried to intervene. Later today, Pace will be in court for his arraignment on multiple charges, including unlawful imprisonment and terroristic threatening. And the head of FBI in Louisville is revealing some pretty jarring information. He says officers in Kentucky have prevented multiple mass shootings. James Robert Brown is a special agent in Louisville. He says there have been multiple cases where law enforcement in Kentucky have prevented mass shootings. Brown added that the number of domestic terrorism arrests have gone up both statewide and nationwide. He says social media is making it easier for domestic terrorists to commit violent acts.
In the overwhelming majority of cases that we've studied, there was always someone in their sphere of influence that knew something. We call them bystanders. We call that the 2019 version of see something, say something. So it's more important now more than ever for those folks to come forward immediately and report it to law enforcement.
Brown also said the majority of extreme violence in Kentucky is racially motivated.
Over towards Moorhead this morning, we're looking at pretty calm conditions towards Interstate 64 and a little bit chillier for those folks as well. But overall, satellite and radar, we're not looking at too much in terms of rainfall this morning, just a few clouds here and there. But overall, it is a quiet start to the day, and our temperature is a little bit cooler to the north, a little bit warmer to the south as those cooler temperatures still continue to move from the north. But we're waking up in the 60s and even some 50s this morning. I'll let you know the temperature trend as we head into the weekend here in just a little bit. Madison.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning. Coming up, the once lost remains of a World War II sailor finally returned to their home in Corbin last night. We'll take a look at the journey.